oh, she ain't got no degree, she ain't no doctor, she's single, she ain't got no kids. Women will so easily give up their body to somebody, but then have questions that they're afraid to ask, have concerns that they're afraid to voice, but they'll bust it wide open. But then if they have certain requirements to give somebody their vagina, then they asking for too much.
All I'ma say is Big Mel, Big Melanie. Listen, Melanie. That's my favorite. That's my review. That's my whole review. Shout out to my bitch Melanie. Ain't she pretty as shit? Hashtag you coming or you not. And my bitch Mel walked in the door and she was coming.
Let me just say that I now understand fully why Pastor Jamal Bryant gets the play that he gets. Y'all, Pastor Jamal Bryant has a podcast, Let's Be Clear, and he recently had an episode with my girl, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I was on YouTube. I was like going through looking at different YouTube videos, and I saw another YouTuber beginning conversations about this episode, and I had to stop it because I didn't want what they were saying to cloud what I was going to say after I watched this episode he had with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. It also led me to watch a podcast episode that he had with his now wife. He is now married to Cheyenne Bryant. And in watching his podcast, which I made sure I subscribed to, it led me to the episode with him and his now wife, Kari. And when I tell you, I totally understand the allure of Pastor Jamal Bryant. Watching him and his wife on that podcast, watching that episode was one of the most refreshing things that my eyes have seen in 2025 thus far. What I will say is that seeing Dr. Bryant and his wife, his new wife, beautiful wife, Kari, it was so refreshing to see. The way they giggled and laughed on that damn episode, the level and the cloud of funny that was on that damn episode. And I believe that laughter is the motherfucking cure. The other YouTuber that I was listening to that I had to stop like in the first 5 minutes, I could tell that she was going to a negative space as it related to that interview. I've heard a lot of people talk crap about Dr. Cheyenne. Oh, she ain't got no degree. She ain't no doctor. She's single. She ain't got no kids. Who is she to tell black people and black women to do this? Who is she to be a therapist and to try to speak healing over black people, which is disgusting. But this episode was really good. It was a really good listen. I literally sent it to my daughter and my niece because I think that there's something triggering to a lot of these. I want to give these podcast men who are pushing the toxic Black love narrative a name. What can I call them? I'm gonna call them the podcast bandits, but it might change. It just podcast bandits is what came to me. These podcast bandits who take pleasure in talking negatively about Black love and about Black women and about Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I'm not here for it. But let's get into the conversation. So in the beginning of the interview, she really delved into her relationship. She said that she had been engaged twice and she had called off both of her engagement. But it started with Dr. Jamal Bryant saying that there is a trend on Instagram where women basically go to their husbands and say, hey, I can't cover the mortgage this month.
And that's a trend in Dr. Bryant that I wanted you to speak to all over Instagram, all over TikTok, is this vignette that people are doing on the wife saying to the husband, I can't help with the rent this month. And the husband invariably saying, oh, you won't ever pay it. I want to know, especially in this souring economy, what does that do for a team who've come to agreement, hey, we want to get this house, but it's going to take both of us to get it done. It is almost doing a 1950s portfolio. There's only the man that's doing it. does it cheapen the value of that team or that husband if they're both putting into the mortgage? Or are you of the mind that just the husband should do it?
Women can say what they want to say, but the truth of the matter is, Pastor Bryant, that when a man doesn't do the nucleus of what he's built to do, which is provide, provision, protect, yes, a woman naturally, organically loses some type of respect in the form of value for that man.
When I was watching this episode and when I was making my notes, I originally wrote down women lose respect when a man can't provide. But then I started going back and like re-listening to it again, and I really missed the word respect of the value, right? Because men and women, but we're talking about men, there has to be value. There has to be a value add. In a relationship, there should be value from the man, from the woman. There should be a value, right? Let's talk about it. So everybody like a Birkin bag or, a Louis Vuitton bag or whatever, whatever the case might be. Those bags are valuable. You are spending your money, a bunch of money, thousands of dollars on a purse because you want to invest in this piece of luxury because it is valuable to you, right? It gives you whatever it is. It gives you whatever it is. Maybe status, maybe feeling like you made it, whatever, but you are investing money because it adds a value. And it is so important that women, and I gotta speak to women, I love the men, but whatever. When you are dating, when you are in a relationship, and let me tell you something. Sometimes I hesitate with like being such a vocal box when it comes to relationship and advice. But at the end of the day, who is better to give you advice on somebody who has been through it? Marriage, divorce, engaged, all types of situations. That's why. Okay. Value. If you're dating a man, if you meet a woman, in those dating days, weeks, months, you have to be asking, especially in those initial first days, what value is this person bringing into my life? And if you cannot answer that question, you need to start asking more questions, and then you need to run if you cannot answer that. But what I will say is that, I respected what she said. Talking about a man being a provider, I have a whole video on that because being a provider is so much more than financial, and she gets into that, and that's why I love it. But that kind of spearheads into her relationship history. So she said that she had been engaged twice and that she has called off both engagements. She said the first engagement, she was a breadwinner. The man wasn't broke, but she was the breadwinner. And in the second relationship, she was a kept woman. Okay. So in his first relationship, she talked about how she left because he wasn't a breadwinner. Now, when I first started listening to this, I was like, okay, girl, you left because he wasn't a breadwinner. Because in the interview, she said that, okay, he had bread, but she was the breadwinner. And sometimes I cringe when I hear women talk about, oh, if he ain't got this amount of money and if he ain't making six figures, this, that, and the third, then I'm going to throw him away. But he might have other value. Right? Maybe he making 70, but he has other value that he can provide that is priceless, right? So when I first started hearing her talk about, oh, he wasn't a breadwinner, and so I broke up with him, I was like, here she go. I'm not on the same page. But then when she started to explain that, she comes from a grandfather of providers, financial providers, stability providers, not so much in the stability piece because her dad, that's a whole other story, but just coming from a fabric of Black men who were financial providers, that is what she deems as a requirement in her relationships. Now, Dr. Bryant said, well, you was in your 20s, so why are you wanting this man to provide for you financially if y'all in y'all 20s? And she did explain that, she wanted to preface that, if you're 30 and below, it is okay for your man not to be a full provider if he's like, growing into this financial piece. It is okay. But when you start getting into the 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, then it's a different kind of conversation. So I'm glad that she corrected that. She started talking about being equally yoked. She delved into what equally yoked meant. Now, she deemed herself to not be equally yoked with this man who wasn't the breadwinner. So when she began to explain more, then I got where she was coming from. And once again, I agree with her. She was saying that at 2021, she was making a good amount of money. She was taking all these classes, all these courses. She had all these degrees. She was getting up early in the morning, grinding, trying to build a better life for her and her potential or fiance, whatever he might have been. And she was like, in the morning, she would get up, go grind, and he would be sitting on that couch or sitting in the bed. And when she got back, he was still sitting in the same spot. And she said that they were not equally yoked, not even just from a financial point, that his money wasn't where she thought it should be, but on the grind. She said specifically something that I wrote down that I thought was good. She was like, are we lifting each other as we climb? Not just I got 100 and you got 100, but are we building together? Is the grind together, And she was able at 25 to say, you know what? We may be engaged, but there's no reciprocity. I'm not getting a return on my investment. Let me exit stage left. She delved into this whole conversation about what do you bring to the table. Now, this was one of those pieces and one of those moments in the episode that I was like, bitch, you are onto something. When it comes to the Black podcast, toxic relationship culture conversation, we like these whole cliches, 50-50. What do you bring to the table? Provider, masculine, feminine, all these things that we have turned into very much toxic conversations. But she said something that will forever sit with me. People want to ask, what do you bring to the table? But you don't know what the table is missing. Men and women, but people will ask, hey, what do you bring to the table? Just because it's cool to say, just because they feel like they're a high value man or a high value woman, and they feel like they got all this, I make this money, I live in this kind of house, I drive this kind of car, so what can you bring to the table? But at the end of the day, if you have not had a healthy conversation with your partner to be like, you know what, this is my table, this is your table. What is missing from your table that I can possibly add? And then the other person can say what is missing from their table that they could possibly add. It could literally be a situation where two ballers, two 6-figure earners, but what this table needs, you cannot provide. And what his table need, you cannot provide. So to me, I always talk about healthy conversation, dialogue, communication, this, that, and the third, but it's so important. And that's one of the reasons why I really fuck heavy with Dr. Cheyenne, because she really breaks this thing down. Even if it's not popular, she breaks it down to where it just be making sense. What is missing from your table that you need to find in a wife? What is missing from your table that you need to find in a husband? Like, stop listening to these cliche sayings and just taking them and just spitting them out without even knowing what you're talking about. Stop it. We have to stop this. Now, then she went into her requirements, right? Every time she started saying something, I'd be like, here we go. But when she explained it, and when she explained it so well, it made sense. It just made sense. She was talking to Dr. Bryant about how when she's talking to a man and they're in the initial talking stages, and she feels like after the first 7 days, if it's something that she potentially might want to invest her time, potentially down the road, invest her body in, then she will ask this person, how many women are you talking to? Then she will ask in those first 7 days, I feel that this could be something that I might want to continue to invest my time and to probably give you additional access to me, whether that be access to my time, access to whatever, potentially access to my body. And if that's the case, I want to confirm that if you are wanting to get access to me, I need you to understand that I'm going to need the passwords to your phone. And now this is where it stopped me. She said that in conversations with a new partner, she lets them know that if she feels like they are somebody that she might be interested in and they seem like they're interested in her, then she lets it be known up front. For access to her, she needs transparency and she needs comfort. So she wants to make sure that you're okay with down the line, not at 7 days, but down the line, it is a requirement for her to have the password to your phone. Now I was like, hold up, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And I feel like Dr. Jamal also thought the same thing. But then when she broke it down, I was like, she making sense. Women will give a man their vagina. They will go to their home, open their legs, give them the most precious thing that they can give somebody. But then if they have certain requirements to give somebody their vagina, which is priceless, then they asking for too much, right? So initially I'm like, girl, why do you need your man password? That's ridiculous. Like, that is so ridiculous. But she said, you know what? If this man wants access to me fully, and he feels like if we get to a space to where we're potentially going to be intimate, we're potentially going to be exclusive, I can give you my vagina. You can't give me 7 digits to a $100 phone. So it's like you're telling me that password, your phone, is more important than what I provide and me giving you my body. And it made sense. Now, to each his own, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I would do that shit. I might do it now that she's explained it, but it made sense. And I feel like women, oftentimes, we do not understand and identify the value that we have. Women will so easily give up their body to somebody, but then have questions that they're afraid to ask, have concerns that they're afraid to voice, but they'll bust it wide open for this man, but they're not sure in other areas. And I like how Dr. Cheyenne really pushes a woman's value to the forefront, especially Black women, because again, what Malcolm X said, the most undervalued thing on this planet is a Black woman. And I like how, you know, when you see Jamal Bryant and his wife, I was talking to the host of the Grown Men Talking podcast. And when he was talking about his wife, and, you know, he was like, I'm providing her with a life to where she don't have to work if she don't want to. She is my first priority. Her comfort is my first priority. Everything stops if she needs me. And I'm like, damn, that's beautiful. And it's like she had to give him a value add for him to, number one, make her his wife. And then I'm sure she has certain requirements that he obliged to. So at the end of the day, this narrative that women, specifically Black women, be asking for too much, and that's why they single, that's why they cat ladies, that's why they this and they that, they're the most unmarried, section of women. That's ridiculous. There are men out here who will definitely oblige to what you have as a desire. And I always say this, child, like, most of the men, if not all, I want to say all, but just for the sake of this podcast, I feel like most of the men that I know are good Black men who are married, good fathers, filling up they woman gas tank, all types of things that seem so small, but they're doing it. And those men do exist, and they're not an anomaly, So this whole thing about asking for the password, I really respect it. I really did. She talked about being a woman of a certain caliber. And, I feel like some of the things that she says that I be like cringe about initially is probably coming from society's brainwashing of me, of different women. Again, you asking for too much, or you thinking that you can find this kind of man is too much. You're not going to find it. Like, that's what they drill in women's head, especially Black women. You asking for too much. Now, is it true? Some women do be asking for some outlandish stuff. That's just my opinion. I agree. Sometimes you'll have a really, really good man and you will mess it up because of your stupid, TikTok, Instagram teachings that you following. That's going to have you really out here lonely and single. But at the end of the day, if you have certain requirements that make sense, that are healthy, that make you feel comfortable, then I'm down for it, But when she started talking about her being a woman of a certain caliber, one thing that I noted is that, I love the idea of being a woman of a certain caliber. And that is why you're saying, listen, it's been 7 days. I'm investing time in you. You're investing time in me. We might be intimate down the line. I require this. But what came to me is that everything is in balance. Black women often get titled with you're alpha, you're so masculine, you want to be the man, I can't be a man, which is stupid. Like, I can't make you be a man, I can't make you be a leader, child. Like, that's not, I'm not God. But oftentimes Black women get bestowed with the title of masculine, alpha, aggressive. They want to be the man. And so when I heard her talking about, oh, I'm a woman of a certain caliber, I just wanted to notate that you can be a woman of a certain caliber. And the energy of how she was saying it a little bit was given. I can see how a toxic man might be like, there she go, there go them Black women. But at the end of the day, I think that making sure that you stay in a soft space, in a feminine energy, in a safe feminine space, and then you balance that with, I'm also a woman of a certain caliber, just don't do it in an aggressive way. That's all I can say. Don't give them the ammunition. You can say that I have certain requirements. You can say that I'm a woman of a certain caliber, and you can still be soft. You can still be feminine, period, point blank. Now, Dr. Bryant thought he was doing his big one when he tried to flip it on her, but she answered. He said to her, you asking this man for your password, but when do you ask this man to pray for you? Because he thought he was about to come and get her on this one. And she said, the man that she's talking to, and she referred to this mystery man that she's talking to several times throughout the podcast. She is in a healthy relationship, seemingly. And she said that the current man that she's with, she didn't even have to ask. He was praying with her and praying for her from day one. And I said, you know what? She said that, a real man, you won't have to ask to pray for you. He will know that. She was like, a leader, a head, that's not your job to give them the playbook. Now, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? I do think when it comes to prayer and having a prayer life, it is great if you attach yourself to a partner who already knows off the gate, okay, I have a certain relationship with God. It's very important to me. It's number one. I believe in prayer. I believe in covering. And if I want to be a certain man to you, if I want to love you like God loves the church, because that's what the Bible say, then off gate, our prayer life, our spiritual life is number one. That sounds great. And I want to make sure I'm not being hypocritical as I say this, because at the end of the day, I feel like you should desire a man who has a relationship with God and is going to lead you closer to God, definitely. But if I'm just keeping it a buck, I think sometimes that can be blurry. And if he's not coming off the gate praying for you and praying, maybe that's a conversation, if that's a requirement for you, and it kind of should be. Now I'm thinking about it. Like, listen, it's been a minute. We've been together. We've been dating. Let's pray. Let's pray when we eat. Let's pray at night. Let's pray in the morning. Let's pray with the kids, whatever the case might be. Like, now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm thinking about it. I don't even know if I have made that requirements in the past. Like, I think my level of immaturity as it comes with relationships, like most women, if a man, first of all, a man gonna start praying for you in the beginning. Men be like pulling out all the stops in the beginning. They praying for you. They praying, you seeing them pray, doing things that they might not necessarily normally do because they trying to get you, which is a whole loaded topic. At the end of the day, we have to understand that if a man is doing certain things in the beginning and we be in that honeymoon stage and we start noticing that, oh my God, you used to pray with us, now you don't pray. You used to open my door, now you don't open my door. We will sweep them things under the rug, but it's so important that, communicate healthy. When we first got together, you was doing this, you fell off, and let's talk about it, because this is one of the reasons that I'm with you. Healthy communication, and it's not just on the woman's side. If a man finds that a woman started doing something in the beginning, maybe she was going to bed smelling good, this, that, and the third, putting on some lingerie every single night, and now she wearing house dresses, and it's something that, okay, wait, the person that I got with, she came to the bed with lingerie. You coming to bed looking like Sojourner Truth. So at the end of the day, I'm not used to this. Let's talk about it, because I don't want to have resentment towards you because I'm, keeping it in. But getting back to the praying, she was saying that the man that she's with, they pray together. She literally said that the man that she's with, he was literally at a conference states away. They typically pray at night together every single night. And he said, he texted her and said, let me know before you go to bed so I can leave this conference. I can step outside for a moment and we could pray together before you go to bed. And I said, damn, that is good. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of sad that we'll be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Oh my God. But that should be the norm. You know what I'm saying? That truly should be the norm. She said that you don't ask a man to pray for you, ladies. I don't really agree with that. If that's something that you require that's not being done, that's when you implement healthy conversation. Okay. She spoke about leadership already being in a man. And that line right there, I had to notate because I wanted to talk about it.
At what point do you ask that man to pray for you?
Oh, I love this. Get out of my business, Pastor
listen,
Bryant.
You my cousin in my head.
Let me tell you okay. So y'all heard, Doc say I'm dating, which means I'm still single, but I am dating, and I'm talking to a particular guy who he's been praying for us and over us since day one.
Nice.
And I've been with praying men, but not to this extent. And it is the biggest turn on. It is the epitome of foreplay. And when I say foreplay, I'm not saying it makes me tingle down here and I want to jump in the bed with him. I'm talking about the real essence of foreplay, meaning that I feel covered.
Yes.
I feel seen. I feel loved by the God in him, not the man in him. And so he doesn't allow us to go to sleep at night without him praying over me or us saying the Lord's Prayer together. And I find that leadership. I find that to be the head of us.
Yeah.
And what it does is it inflames my submissiveness and my softness more than if he didn't do it.
Let me talk about that, boo, 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 boo. It inflames my submissiveness. I literally had to put a pause and a stop right there. My notes wouldn't even give what I needed it to give. It inflames my femininity and my softness. Do you know what it's like to have an inflamed femininity and softness? When I was listening to this, I was like, you know what? Men, it is real easy. Now, if you ain't got it in you, if you a weirdo, or if you still healing and still growing, then this ain't for you. But men, it's so easy. Men always say that they want a submissive woman. They want a soft black woman. They want this, they want that. And it's so easy to inflame a woman's softness, to inflame a woman's femininity. Do you know what you can get in return if you inflame my femininity? I gotta go to this. What is the definition of something being inflamed? Because I need you to hear this. I need you to hear this. Inflamed, of strong feelings, provoked or intensified. What is it? Red and swollen, child. Not red and swollen, but provoked or intensified. Inflamed passions overrode reasoning. Inflamed. Y'all, this is giving me red, painful, and swollen. Listen, we don't want nothing to be painful and swollen. If inflammation can be short term, this is all chronic. At the end of the day, we not stupid. To literally inflame something, that means that it's swole. That means that it's irritated. Like, I want to, inflame my softness. Inflame my femininity. Do you know what you can get if you have a woman and keep her in a soft, safe space where she feels like she's a priority and she feels like she can rest in her femininity? Resting your femininity, it's another one of those cliche phrases of 2024, 2023. But men, instead of getting mad at women talking about wanting to be in their softness, understand it. Everybody ain't wrong.
That ain't something you ask. That's something that man comes with or he does not. Leadership isn't you asking him to presume leadership. Leadership is already in that man, and you know through the actions he takes with you. And you know when a man's covering you, because when a man's covering you, when he's not in your presence, your nervous system is calm. When a man's covering you, he's not in your presence, your spirit isn't inflamed. If this man happens to go a little further than the time frame of the meeting, your spirit is still at ease. Because when this man covers you, it's not him covering you. You are covered by the God that he's serving, by the principles that he is praying on, leaning on, living in. And faith, God, and principles are action words. So a man can't be in God and not be actively covering you. It doesn't work like that.
Now, she says leadership is not you asking a man to presume leadership. You know what's crazy about that? Y'all make this easy stuff very difficult. I feel like sometimes men, when they feel triggered, you know, when the little boy in them, when the insecure person in them is triggered, they will lash at you. They will lash back, right? Instead of trying to seek healing. Mel Robbins said, her therapist said, confirmation, Jesus. Mel Robbins said that her therapist said that most humans, not even men, but most humans are 8-year-olds in adult bodies. And I said, you right about that. Because you know what? The ability to have healthy conversation, the ability to be introspective, the ability to just be healthy, mentally healthy, or at least striving for it is something that you have to desire. If you don't desire healing, if you don't desire mental clarity, if you don't desire to evolve and to learn and to understand and to hold that mirror up in your face, you're going to be 8 years old for the rest of your life. And then you're going to take that toxicity and pass it on, honey. Like this pneumonia going around. You're going to take that toxicity and you're going to pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. And that's why women have to protect themselves. And not just women. Everybody has to protect themselves because women can be toxic too. We know this. But you have to protect yourself. And this is why when you talk about Dr. Cheyenne's, oh, I'm this kind of woman or this kind of caliber and I require this and I require that, that is your way of protecting yourself. This conversation of leadership was everything. Now, leadership being in a man, that, you know, having a good amount of male friends and, just experiencing men, it makes me sad because when it comes to the topic of leadership, it can be very difficult for a man to be a leader if he wasn't shown that from a father or a mentor. You know, it's interesting. I have a good friend, one of my best friends. He wasn't brought up in the healthiest of homes in terms of the Cosby Show, right? And him as a grown adult male in his 40s, he is starting to identify that there's a lot of deficits in him as a romantic partner when it comes to being a leader in his relationships, because he was never shown that. And I had to applaud him because, you know what? I said, do not look down on yourself for saying that, because just the simple fact that you're able to identify that you are not going into romantic relationships equipped, fully healed, or in the process of being healed, and you're actually going to a therapist and doing the work, that is a flex. You are a leader and you are a leader in training. And it's crazy because in a non-romantic way, he leads me. Like it boggles my mind because romantically, I guess, or because that 8-year-old in him is still being healed. He probably is a really good leader to a woman because he is the kind of guy that when I be crying or going through something or like confused or, needing somebody to talk to, that nigga lead the fuck out of me. And I can't do nothing but respect that. So when she says that leadership is already in a man, yeah, I feel like leadership qualities are innate in men. I do feel that way. But if you're not healed, if you're insecure, if you still have that little 8-year-old boy there, not growing up, not doing the work, then that leadership is really, really suppressed. So many women, me included, and I tell my niece and my daughter this, women are magical. especially Black women, our connection to the source, our intuition is a magical power. And it puts me in the mind of like, people will be like, you know what, when Black people came over here to this country, to the US, we lost a lot of our traditions, our values, we lost a lot of our rituals, we lost a lot of our traditions. And Black women have this magical power of intuition that they do not tap into. And when she says that your nervous system is calm, you're at peace, even if this man is away, he is covering you even in his absence. Talking about the nervous system. So many times I feel like women and men, but specifically women, you can be around a person, a man, and you're frazzled. Your nervous system is not at peace. And when she said that shit right there, I was like, girl, that is deep. Feeling covered, feeling protected, feeling at peace, and to go even deeper, your nervous system is at peace. That is heaven on earth. I dated this guy that my friends to this day think is gay or thought was gay. Wasn't the most attractive man, wasn't the tallest man, wasn't the most masculine presenting man to my friend's point. But I tell the story on one of my first podcasts about, I was buying a car. I was buying my first car ever because my parents bought my car. Then my husband bought me cars. So I had never bought a car before on my own. And I got in a wreck and I had to buy a car. Long story short, this guy who my friends thought was gay, child, I don't know. I remember being in that dealership. I remember feeling overwhelmed. And I say, you know what? This man asked me all these questions about finances, about cars, about this, that, and the third. I don't know. I sat there in that salesman's office. I said, you know what? Hold on. Let me call my man and talk to him because I don't know. I called the guy at the time. I said, listen, I'm here at the dealership. I need some help, whatever. He said, say less, put the phone down. I don't know if I put the phone down or I gave him the phone, but all I know is that I didn't have to explain. I didn't have to go into no long drawn out thing. Babe, I'm here at the dealership. I'm overwhelmed. I'm confused. He said, say less. He took the phone. He handled it from there and I knew to leave. And that's free. That's free. Might not have been the finest guy, might not have been whatever, but that is what I will always want in my partner. That level of covering, that level of leadership, that level of, okay, I'm overwhelmed, my man got me. That is all it takes. That shit is free. He didn't have to leave his job. He didn't have to use his debit card. He used the God-given leadership skills that men have. She talked about intimacy versus sex, which I thought was a really good conversation. She explained that intimacy is conversation. Intimacy is praying over me. Intimacy is, did you eat? Are you okay? Intimacy is, I'm going to put my needs aside because I see that you need me right now. That is intimacy. Wanting to give you peace, wanting to give you calm. That is intimacy. And she literally explained that men be talking about, oh, I want a freak. I want this. I want this. I want that. Y'all, the playbook is so damn easy. The playbook is so damn easy. Y'all just don't know. But you don't know if you're not healed, if you have issues, if you're not doing the work, if you're insecure, if you think you're God's gift, if you think because you make six figures, then you're the high value man. You don't know. You're not getting the freak. Because you're not providing that safe, soft space, that leadership, that covering that lets a woman rest fully in her femininity and give you the freak of the week. Did you eat? Are you okay? I know I might need something right now, but I see that you need me more. So let me put what I need to the side because I'm a leader. You're my woman. I want you to have peace. I'm facilitating support. I'm showing up. She talked about taking baths together. I thought that was a good conversation. She talked about, if she can be with a man and he has sexual discipline to be in a bed with her, be in a bath with her, and not require sex, when he get the sex, it'll be the best sex. Basic. This is basic. This is 101. You know, have that discipline. If a man has sexual discipline, you know, it's ridiculous. Dr. Bryant was very, very funny in saying that, you know, men, don't fall for that trap. Do not take a bath with your woman. It's a trap. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that Dr. Cheyenne kind of emphasized it's not about being a trap. It's not about, you know, sex and touching and all this. It's about seeing that your man has a discipline. It gives you peace. It gives you covering. You know, discipline is top tier. And then, you know, I'm going to go through the last thing that she started talking about that I thought was amazing. And I'm going to go into this on another episode. She was saying that people often come for her and be like, oh, who are you to tell women to do anything? You've never been married. You don't have no kids. You know, you're 40 plus and you're single with your cats, whatever. Who are you? And it's like, this lady is a doctor. Whether y'all want to believe she is or not, I believe it. She's never said nothing to that I'm aware of that I'm like, you know, or even if she did say something that I didn't agree with, even if she said something that I didn't agree with, she had backing. She backed it up and I felt comfortable. She said that she's proud that she's not divorced. She's not a single mom. She's not a statistic, and she's made great decisions not to be. She said nobody wastes all their life to be a baby mama. She talked about having abortions, which I thought was very interesting. But she emphasized you can date women without getting pregnant. Meaning women, you can date a man without getting pregnant by him. You can date a man by, you know, not voluntarily taking abuse from him. You're in control of your choices, and you don't have to become a statistic. You don't have to rush into a marriage just to rush into a divorce. You know, I love what she talks about when it comes to just, you know, women and women standing in their power, and not from I'm a man way, you know, I'm masculine. No, from understanding who you are, understanding the value you have in between your boobs and between your legs, and moving accordingly. Y'all listen. This episode was amazing. Dr. Cheyenne, you've done it again. You've done it again. You've done it again. I'm here for it. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button for Jamal Bryant's podcast. And then also for this podcast, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the description below. Okay, I have an ebook, and the ebook is talking about the playbook that you need before you decide to cohabitate with a man, your partner, or a woman, whoever it is. This playbook is 10 toes down a requirement that you need if you're thinking about moving in with somebody. If you're single and you want to have kind of like a playbook of conversations and things that you need to look out for when you do find your person. This playbook is everything, y'all. I don't talk about nothing that I don't know, that I ain't lived through, that I haven't had experience in. Support me, support this Black business. This playbook is fire. I already got like one review from the first person that bought it that said it was great. He just got married to a woman. He loved the playbook. At the end of the day, click that link in the description, order your playbook, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next episode.